4, 3, 2, 1, sync.
Sync.
Hey, everybody, and welcome back to Brainstorm. That'll be the thing that I do.
What is this,
from now on.
Halloween?
Yeah. Well, I mean, it is. Well, okay, it's not October yet.
It'll be by the time this
It
comes
will
out,
be when this comes out. So
When this comes out.
I'll do that for the rest of October. Whenever we do a Brainstorm episode, it'll just be a different thing each week. Anyway,
No,
hi.
I like it.
Hi guys, I'm Var.
I'm Meso.
And I'm John.
And once again, you are listening to Brainstorm episode. Who knows at this point?
I don't know. We're pretty behind.
I think it's okay. Let me think about this for a second. We have 2 episodes up. 3 just came out. 4 is in the can. Hasn't been uploaded yet, but it will be by the time this is out. So this is 5.
Yes.
Okay.
This is 5? Okay.
Episode 5 of Brainstorm. This is the show where we decide to talk about our own ideas and pitch our own things and pretend like we're better than Lego. So,
Pretty much.
Pretend we're better than the professionals that work for a living.
All the
doing
professionals
that.
who make the Ninjago movie. I'm kidding. They're professionals.
that will be an episode we'll be doing, I think, at some point.
Never once
wanna
did
do
I
it. I wanna
ever
do it.
imagine or want that I'd be making sarcastic jibes about the Ninjago movie like I do about G2. That really makes me upset, to be honest.
Okay, do you know something? I just want to we'll go back to Brainstorm
I'm
just
sure
for
I know
real
something.
quick. I had a party last night with a bunch of my friends.
Oh,
All got
wow,
together.
brag about it.
I know. I got some friends. I know.
I know. I'm kind of a big deal, you know?
Kind of a big deal. Kind of a friendly person. Here's what I found out: Ninjago movie has good word of mouth
Does it?
Okay.
among them. Yeah. Now these are my college age friends, or
That's
like they
weird.
graduated college and they're married, and they were talking about how they've all heard that the movie's
And
really
they're
good.
married. You have to be married to enjoy this movie.
Well, it's funny because that's what I heard. They had other married friends that went, and they said their kids didn't like it, but they did.
Oh, no.
That's weird.
So that's super weird, isn't it?
That's
I thought it would have been the other way
weird.
around. For the
Those are
longest
people that
time,
had taste.
people in the comments are saying, "Well, we're not the target audience." But from what I'm hearing,
Sounds
apparently
like it's the other way around.
it sounds like the other way around. This is just my slice of friends. So, but I'd like to
makes
hear from
sense.
other people.
With
Yeah.
such a heavy focus on like
That-
Garmadon and Coco. Maybe.
That
Maybe.
movie is at a solid 50% right now on Rotten Tomatoes.
So if you go see it, it's a
straight
toss-up.
split down the middle.
It's a
Straight
toss up
split,
whether you'll
dude.
like it or not.
That's
Who knows?
interesting.
Who knows? Oh well. Yeah. So anyway, back to Brainstorm. We will likely
to
be touching
Brainstorm.
upon the Ninjago movie on Brainstorm at some point, separate from our Brickonicle discussion. But for right now, you guys are joining us for our Brickonicle discussion, our hypothetical G3 pitch, where we come up with a new Bionicle to revitalize the Bionicle brand and bring it into the system theme,
Yes.
which is something that
only.
Lego should have done to begin
Were
with.
it so easy.
Were it so easy. Yeah, so we've taken kind of a break from Brickonicle for a while now. John, you haven't
Sorry.
been here.
Yeah, that's my bad. I've been gone for a couple weeks, and we always record Brainstorm on the weekend, so it's tough to get our schedules lined up. But I had some unexpected stuff come up, and it kind of took me away from this for a while.
Yeah.
So I apologize for that.
To
but
be fair, it was important stuff, but now that
It
we're
was
back
important
in action, it's time to get straight into this thing, because it's been a while. Even like we've done episodes while you weren't here, but we haven't really made progress while you weren't here.
No. I don't even know what we did last week.
Last
now I'm
week,
back, so we can start doing some more progress.
Episode 4,
literally
I
all
forget
we
what was
did
on
last
it.
week was we
Addressed
read
feedback?
through some pitches, yeah. And that was
All right.
it. We didn't really actually do anything as far as progressing.
I have not heard that episode because that isn't out. So,
Yeah.
did you guys actually talk about anything that you felt was cool, or?
Yeah, I mean, we touched upon a couple of neat ideas, but the thing was that none of the pitches really delved into any like world-changing things, you know? It wasn't anything that was like going to shape the way we move on with our story, so it's not really too relevant. A lot of it was kind of clarifying things for people that might be, not misinformed, but like not
It's
quite.
not an important
understand.
step.
Yeah.
Okay.
It was a good episode, but it wasn't anything good towards actually like moving forward. So I'm glad that we're all back and ready
Where
to
we're
go.
at still is where we were at the end of episode 3 almost a month ago.
Right.
Like 3 weeks ago, which was episode structure. We had to figure
Right.
that out. Storyboards. We need some of those.
Yeah.
And we
I
opened the
wanna-
floor to the community because we essentially have 5 episodes that we mostly know what they're gonna entail, and then we have 5 episodes we don't in season 1. We have to fill those 5 episodes.
I want to get to that in a second. There is one thing I want to bring up about the TV show that I don't know. We've just kind of assumed that this would be
boy.
X kind of thing.
I remember last time we just kind of assumed something.
Yeah, I know. It turned into this whole controversy. Let's talk about what is the animation style for this show.
Oh, yeah,
we talked about that last week.
Oh, did you talk about that last week?
Yeah,
okay.
yeah, we did.
All right.
We did.
What was the conclusion? You want elves-esque?
Elves-esque, animated-esque, anything that is 2D cartoon. Essentially, what I was saying last week is that the Bionicle 2015 animations had the right idea. It was just too short of a cartoon and also too stylized.
Yeah, somewhere in that direction.
So somewhere in between, like in the Journey to One, not Journey to One, 2015 animation style, but not quite as stylized, not quite as cartoony.
I'm assuming Ragdoll.
Yes,
you saw his design, and that was kind of.
We did talk about
it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All
right. Essentially, the idea behind the cartoon is obviously going to be, centered around, the Bionicle products, but because we're also planning on introducing Construction Ultra Build figures as well, the Toa designs would likely borrow from their Construction designs mostly, which would obviously need to fit with their minifigure designs as well. So it's kind of a universal design element here, but they would probably look more like their Construction figures.
So we're all on board with the idea that, like, I personally speaking, I don't hate it at all. I think it works decently well, but I'm not a huge fan of the Lego style of TV shows where like the kind of plasticky
Ninjago has been on an upward climb animation
quality
wise, but it took a long time to get to where it is now. A lot of years of
Yeah, it works for Ninjago. I'm not sure why. I think it's just because I'm used to it. Maybe I would prefer it if it was an elf style, but after all these like years of Ninjago being in this style, it's sort of a whatever kind of thing. I'm fine with it. It has looked better recent years than it has, earlier years.
I'm just not sure it would work for
weird
Bionicle.
Right. Monsters.
One thing I was actually wondering is, so I talked to Artifacts Creation a bit at the thing, and he was talking about how they're like, he's been experimenting a little bit with 3D animation, but they're talking specifically about how the Lego movie style they should see if they could replicate that a little bit in the TV show, and instead like kind of fully commit to the Lego world and the way the minifigures act and move and like the kind of stop motion-esque aesthetic they have for the Lego movies. That works really well. Do you guys favor that over the Lego TV show style they have now, or the elves style?
I mean, I definitely prefer the Lego movie style over the TV show style. The thing with that though is it's a whole budget thing. I can't imagine them being able to actually make a TV show with that style.
Standardization is merely a theory at this point. Hasn't been done.
If they're able to standardize it in like to a way where it is Lego movie style, but they're able to replicate that for the TV show, that'd be great. But
you don't think
at that point, I almost feel like it's kind of taking away from the movies.
Yeah, no, I kind of get that. I mean, I was thinking like, I want to see where that goes, because if he decides to play around with the animation thing and goes a little further with that, because he posted like some tests and stuff on his YouTube channel that he's doing. If he's able to do that, then we can say, okay, if we do have a studio, that is possible in some way, shape, or form. There's a person already doing it, so we can kind of scale that up a little bit. But perhaps fair enough. Yeah, well,
it's an idea.
All right. Yeah, let's move on.
For now, I say elves-like, but really all that means is like kind of like what I was saying, that 2015 animation. It's like a somewhat stylization of the characters. I'm still having difficulty visualizing exactly what that would look like.
2D animation.
We drew the comparison to Transformers Animated last week, and then Ragdoll Sketch, obviously something like that. But it's difficult for me to see it for all the characters.
Right. It's something that would need some playing around with. There's plenty of styles out there to go with and different things to play around with, but I think a 2D animated style is what we would want, though.
Ragdoll's come the closest to what I think it's going to look like. I'd like to see him push the style a little further, because I like the style he has is kind of a more American-esque, kind of like a Young Justice kind of style, of like the superhero cartoons used to watch back in the day. And I'm wondering what other shows I'm missing that kind of focused on robots and had robots as main characters besides like Transformers. Like whatever 2D shows had robots prominently there. So I guess leave that in the comments if you... I'm forgetting stuff on Cartoon Network because I was kind of gone for that. And then also what else we can... Like if he's going to do other characters in the style and how he can further and push the style a bit more. Before I like 100%. But I do like where it's going, and I think you guys are on the right track.
Yeah. All right. So, where we left off with the actual episode planning was we had decided that the Takoro episode, or the Tahu story, would take up two parts.
Yep.
We reached out to the community, see if there was any storyboards or pitches anybody had. The last episode that you weren't on, John, we were mentioning how Dark Maestro had written a Tahu story that none of us had a chance to read yet. But it is there. So there's 2 different pitches that I am aware of for Tahu's story. There's one written by Dark Maestro, and then there's a storyboard created by Zcee.
Hype.
And I will post that. I literally just had it open, and then I accidentally closed out of the tab, so now I have to re-find it.
Toaster.
The one thing I will say about Dark Maestro's story, while reading it, it was fine. It hit the normal the beats that we had obviously talked about. The one thing that I noticed while reading it, though, is that Tahu is too unlikable. And this is a real big thing, because we need to make sure that as an audience we are on Tahu's side always. We can't
even when he's messing up.
Tahu,
we gotta root for him.
Yeah, he is the main character essentially of the show. He's like the leader of the Toa. His whole personality is that he's charismatic, a natural born leader. He's able to convince people to take his side, that kind of thing. So we need to make sure that he is a very likable person in the story and in the narrative. And I think the story focuses a lot on Tahu being very angry and gruff and like kind of headstrong, those are obviously character traits that are going to be attributed to him, but
it's that
we gotta make sure.
The tightrope you walk when you try to give a character flaws. If you give him too many,
right,
it makes him just like this bumbling idiot or just unlikable dude. He has to be like rootable.
Yeah, we need to be on Tahu's side when it comes to, because he is eventually going to he's going to lead the the fight against the fire spitter horde, right? And that eventually turns against him because he doesn't see the circumstance of them ending up in Ihu and causing the war, right?
Yeah.
But this is a thing that he overlooks, and it's not really a thing that he's thinking about right now. But we need to also be rooting for that too, as an audience. We need to be on his side. We need to be like, you know what? Yeah, Tahu's right here. We should be taking the fight to them. We shouldn't be like hiding or cowering in our Koro, waiting for them to attack again. We should be fighting them. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that the story that Dark Maestro wrote put a lot of good attention to Jowler, which is fine. But like as an audience, we need to be rooting for Tahu, not Jowler.
Right.
Jowler is the enemy here, despite being the one who's ultimately correct. As an audience, we need to be seeing him as an adversary.
He's an antagonist. He's not
It's like
dislike.
if we viewed Transformers Animated from the perspective of Sentinel Prime. Except not as overdone.
Yeah, I mean, kind of, except Sentinel Prime was just a straight jerk, though.
Yeah.
In every regard, he had no redeeming qualities. So it's just it's a balance. There's definitely a balance here. Tahu does need to be immature. He does need to be headstrong. He doesn't need to be brash, but he needs to be likable and charismatic. Right. So that's just what I want to get throughout with that.
Okay.
The Zcee pitch, I ended up linking that? I can't remember. I went on my big spiel. Yeah, I did. Okay. So this is a storyboard pitch from Zcee. It's an interesting style. It's kind of difficult to tell immediately what's going on. It looks like the fire spitters are attacking on panel 9. So it's sort of starting us off kind of where they're discussing, I guess, the politics of the whole thing.
Tahu looks bored. That's supposed to be him.
Which is good, actually, because I feel like Tahu being bored in the politics meeting is a good...
Yeah, no, I like that.
It's a good character trait, because that's something that we can relate with. We're like, okay, this is boring. Let's get to the fight. Let's get to the action. So that's a good thing to focus on. I don't know how we specifically want to tackle this, though, because neither of the pitches are really hitting the mark for me in terms of balancing present day with past. Oh, well, actually, no.
Yeah, it's not an issue for the pilot.
Yeah, that's right. Never mind. Okay. Then I just gotta have to reframe how I'm viewing this episode.
Yeah.
The trick for me is balancing like all of the necessary information into the allotted time, and having enough action, character, and hook to actually like carry over episodes. Because it all sounds fine if it's like a backstory dump, but it has to be paced in such a way that it's like has a rise and fall. You know what I mean? So we have the setup for the fire spitters, the actual fire spitter conflict, the result of that conflict, the ripple effect, Tahu's, ostracization.
Right.
It's a difficult word to say. And then the introduction of the Toa concept at the end of the episode. We also have to have the island get frozen. There's a lot of stuff to do in a certain order.
Yeah, we should break down these 2 episodes, this 2-episode arc, into the main beats that we want to convey. Like the main things that we want the audience to know that they don't know going into the episode, but once they leave the episode, they now know.
This is how I would start the episode. I know that this pitch starts with it actually taking place in Takaro. I would not start it that way. I would actually start it with the way Bionicle started in G1, and one of the best things I felt about the exposition of that franchise, with the Legend of Madanui.
Okay.
Yep.
Except it's being told by Norik.
Well, I kind of figured the Legend of Madanui would be the thing before the intro, like an Avatar.
Exactly.
I think you mentioned that before.
Right.
But
So,
I don't know if we'd want Norik to do it every episode.
Well,
so
no, he would not
be
do
like
it every
Ninjago, where they like at the pilot they don't have the actual intro. The intro starts in episode 2. You know what I mean?
Right. Exactly.
And instead they have Norik do it, and then in the future
In
episodes,
ours, it would start in
there's an
episode
abridged
3.
version or
It
something
would start in
like
episode 3. But like basically what would happen is that there's a longer version of the intro. In this one, Norik would be the one narrating it. I would say in the later one, either Narmoto or maybe Akira or someone would be, recapping the thing. Like because Akira's going to appear to Tahu in this episode and tell him what's up. So I would say initially the idea is Norik, of course, the voice actor for Norik would have an obviously kind of evil and sinister tone to him,
right.
So you kind of are taking it into suspicion. But he tells the story of what happens, that there were,
it's a subversion of expectations. So
right.
for older fans who might be watching the show, the episode starts off with the legend of Akimu, right, and the brothers, and you're expecting it to, kind of throw Makuta under the bus and be all in favor of Akimu, but it's a subversion of that, so it's the other way around.
Right.
So it's kind of it's a nice little thing for the older fans.
And it'll lead into, I think the way we should frame it is that like they don't necessarily mention the brother's name up front. They're like, there are 2 brothers, but one of them grew jealous of the other. He tried to, he tried to create chaos among the world, and like they show the Matorn coming up, and you think that the chaos he's referring to is like sowing like discord among them, but it's actually for them it's just life in general. And then like they talk about how and then finally when all seemed lost, he betrayed his brother by summoning ancient warriors of evil, and they stole his powers and locked him away.
Nice.
Our great spirit Makuta, and then that's where it cuts to the intro of Bionicle. And then
it.
He's like, but now we will bring him back. And then like we're gonna bring back the
very
great spirit
Assassin's
Makuta
Creed 3.
Yeah, kind of. They're all in the cult room, and then they're like you see them with the mask of time. They put the mask of time together, and then there's the flash of light, and then like it pans out of the volcano, and it goes up to like the island of Madanui, and then Bionicle. The logo appears on top of that.
I like it. It's just we gotta, if we do it that way, it needs to be very clear that this is an unreliable narrator from the start.
Right. We should have it look evil from the beginning, where we maybe show them entering like the temple or whatever, the cult room they have, and it obviously looks evil.
Yeah.
And then like the guy who's telling it, he sounds evil, and like it feels like there's an ominous thing to it.
Right. I like it. That's good. Okay. That's fine when it comes to telling a legend, kind of setting it up with a kind of an evil thing and the logo reveal and everything. But we still need to figure out exactly what needs to be conveyed with Tahu's story. What needs to be set up in this episode that will play into the rest of the season. What needs to be established? What do our audience need to know by the end of it?
the first thing that they should know is that there are 6 different villages, and they all have different elements.
Yeah,
that should be a
really
thing that gets
the
across.
most important.
Right.
That's the core of everything.
That's the core of everything.
All right. Then you know there are 6 villages with 6 elements.
I think we can get away by having that exposition when they're talking about the fire spitter, and one can be like a thing could be like they could have a back and forth, right? Someone's like, the Rahi have been getting a lot more agitated recently. Have you seen X? Have you heard from the other villages? And then they might talk about like the Kokorans and how they they're not responding. And Jala could also bring up that the fire spitter, fighting him could have ramifications for the other villages like the Kokorans, which is going to happen later on. And then that will be
cool. Like when they're arguing like what to do, it's like you have to think of the other villages. Right. That's like organic conversation.
Right. And then then someone could say the villages of ice and fire have always been against each other. Even among the 6 elements, they are the one that have always stood up against us. Why should we care when our villages are dying?
Death Note problem, though, where we like over-explain.
Of course, yeah. Of course. I mean, a lot of this stuff can come up naturally. I can already see how the 6 villages and 6 elements could be brought up naturally. If this is because these. This is going to be a back-to-back pilot, right? Where the first episode and the second episode are running concurrently? Okay.
Right.
So, I can already see how that would come up naturally after, Tahu sets off the fire spitters, right? After they attack Tahu and everything. Because, we've already been at war with this other region for insert amount of time, and now this, or whatever, at odds. This, So
we could have in the High Council there could be someone saying, the chair recognizes blank of the blank district. I forget all the districts we have.
That'd be cool.
That way it's a natural way to say, we recognize Narmoto of the military district, Ta Metru.
Yeah.
I forget which one it is. Ta.
I like that a lot, actually.
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
I would actually say we could also open with a village already burning, kind of on fire, and people evacuating out, so that you have that that's the first image you're met with, and it draws a sympathy of what Narmoto's going to do later.
Good.
Because
I like
Narmoto's not coming from a selfish place necessarily. He thinks he's going to defend his people, and he's going around the wrong way doing it. Yeah. But that way, the audience has sympathy for him. So let's do this, right? So all that thing, the legend, cut to BIONICLE, title screen, all right? Then cut to a village on fire, and all the people are being evacuated, and they're all being brought into the main city. They're one of the villages on the outskirts of the region.
And Narmoto's there on the scene.
Yeah, Narmoto's there on the scene and everything.
All right.
Okay, writing that all down? Cool.
Yep.
All right,
to Mungai. All right. What else needs to be conveyed? So we've got Narmoto's view of the fire spitters, their destructive tendencies, and the danger and threat they pose to Mungai.
Right.
That's important. And we've got the 6 villages, 6 elements that are important.
Right.
Narmoto's willingness to help people, something that we need to convey.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we do. We should actually show him at the beginning helping someone. They're going around almost like as firemen, and he's like helping someone out of like their house is being burnt down, or like they're trapped.
That way you establish this dude has compassion.
Right. So again, audience sympathizes with him first off the bat. When he goes and does something crazier or a little more, they still identify with him.
Exactly.
They get where he's coming from.
You can even do show off his willingness or his ability to inspire people. I don't know, just a random scene that like a kid is doesn't have his parents or something. He's missing. He's just kind of there by himself. And Narmoto's like, "Hey, be strong, keep moving on. We'll find your parents." That kind of thing, and it inspires the kid to keep going or something like that. Just
we'll find your parents, and then the scene cuts in a way you see their bodies in the corner.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Dark comedy. Like the futility of dreams. Let's do a meta commentary.
No. I think that could lead into a thing. We can have that kid be enrolled in the castle guard or some military thing.
Oh, that's great.
Orphans.
I really like that.
Yeah.
He fills the same role as Bing Zack.
Oh, you know what would be awesome if we have so Narmoto inspires his kid to join like the Takoro guard or whatever.
Yeah.
Right.
And then episode 2 rolls around, Narmoto is being, ostracized by his society, and the kid that was previously inspired by Narmoto to join the Takoro guard is now one of the people who's like, this guy is a jerk.
That'd be
good.
And
ignoring
that'd
him.
be good. That's good. All right, let's tie that in. That's really good. Okay. And I think another thing that's important here is that Jawler is not on this scene. So when the conflict happens in the room, Narmoto can bring that up and be like, hey, you're not there on the ground floor. You don't know what it's like. You're sitting here in your cushy tower and everything. We're going to take the fight to them.
Right.
Yeah.
So Jowler doesn't fully understand the threat that they pose.
But Jowler also is smarter diplomatically, and he realizes the implications, unlike Tahu.
That's another thing we need to convey, is that Narmoto is not bright when it comes to diplomacy.
No, absolutely not.
But Jowler is. So, like, for instance, the scene that Zcee proposed where we're in a council meeting and Narmoto is very visibly bored, not paying attention, that kind of thing, whereas Jowler is very in tune with that scenario.
It sets up straight away like this dude has skills, but maybe he's not cut out for this.
Right, maybe he's not perfect. He doesn't have everything that he needs right off the bat. So it's good. Right. I like that it's very clear why Narmoto feels so strongly towards stopping the fire spitters versus Jowler, who is more in favor of, building defenses, waiting, not taking the fight, not getting revenge. He's not as brash because he wasn't there to witness the destruction that they posed.
Right, exactly. But it's also important to realize that ultimately Jowler is right, and like that's a good theme to kind of echo on. Is that like, hey, even when you're down there in ground zero, that can warp your perspective of things. You do need to have a level head, ultimately, and that's what Narmoto will realize over time, which will lead into the Civil War when he actually has that. Okay, all right.
I like it.
All right.
The only problem with this two-part intro is, like, there are limits that we can establish. Like, we can't establish the overarching plot of the series, obviously. But, like, these are good things we're laying up.
We can establish Norik. We can establish Norik as a member.
Essentially,
we
what we're doing...
really go in on Norik, like, in the background.
Yeah, we should. We should, actually. Essentially, what we're doing is, for the two-parter, we're setting up the world. That's what's happening. We're setting up one of our characters. We're setting up the world that he lives in. We're setting up danger. And we're setting up that there are other places and other elements and other characters within those elements, too, that exist in this universe. And then we're also hinting towards a greater threat that we are not currently dealing with. And by the end of the two-parter, that threat becomes a reality that we now have to deal with. And then the next episodes afterwards can talk about the actual arc.
Right.
So right now, this is all set up. But yes, we another thing that we should focus on and make sure the audience understands by the end of the two-parter is Norik is not a great guy.
Right.
Yeah. Here's a question: I'm sure we discussed this before. Did we ever decide on having the Rakshi see their transformation in real time, like?
In real time?
This is a hard one. Yeah, this is something I don't think we've ever fully established.
Because we discussed briefly the idea of the Mask of Monsters allowing them to turn between forms, and we decided not to go with that to make it more permanent. So for Norik to be in his normal form here means that the Rakshi transformation has to happen between this event and episode 3 where the Rakshi show up. So that should probably be on screen, which means there should probably be a B-plot with Norik. If I had to say.
You are correct, I think.
I actually think we could do something else, and that is, I mean, in the context of the story, everything that happens here happens before the fire spitter thing, right? The fire spitter thing is going to be kind of the climax of episode 1, and then Tahu deals with the ramifications of that in episode 2. But part of the thing that happens in episode 2 is that the island gets frozen over and he gets turned into Tahu. He gets the mantle of Tahu in episode 2, and that's when he goes and meets the other Toa.
Right.
So
okay, is Tahu going to meet? Yeah, of course, he's going to end the episode by meeting the other Toa.
Right.
Yeah,
but beforehand, what we can have is that Norik is seen as a shady guy. He leaves, and then you are like. Basically, okay, so at the title sequence, you see, as you're panning out, we go out of the volcano, and you see the energy thing being, like, cast upon the island. And that's where you see the Bionicle thing. So, during episode 2, Tahu will look up, he'll hear, like, a rumbling, and he'll be like, what's that? And then he sees the thing shoot above him, like the energy wave shoot above him overhead. And that will be, like, that will be the establishing thing so that you know, okay, what happened at the beginning, that's happening right now. And you can see, like, the time wave, essentially, that freezes the island.
Yeah, but when do they actually transform?
It's at that point in time. We don't see that, though.
Yeah, that's we're not going to see them transform. Keep in mind that our show is going to have a lot of flashbacks. For instance, I do think it's still relevant to talk about what their transformation is going to be like.
True.
Because for instance, Dark Maestro's Liwa pitch has Iruni transforming into the Rakshi throughout, and like his transformation, it's sort of like an illness where he's like coughing, and like the darker he falls, the worse it gets. He's like spitting up like green blood and stuff.
Right.
That's actually really unique versus how monsters are usually done. It's just like a one and done.
Yeah. I kind of like the idea. It's like a Voldemort thing, right? Where like Voldemort is visibly changing into this monster, but he doesn't care. He's embracing it, right? He's like he's continuously making his appearance go darker and darker and darker because of he believes in what he's doing versus what it's actually physically changing. So for this one, it's like Iruni is slowly becoming this Rakshi thing, but he doesn't care because he's doing it, for Makuta.
Let me ask you this: with Norik specifically, we're gonna have an episode focusing on him, right? I believe we fleshed that out that we would have an episode focusing on his backstory.
Or 7.
Yeah, like 8 or something, right?
I still think like it should be 9, but we did mention how we wanted Gali to be the last one.
Yeah. Well, we can work on the arrangement. I do think there might be some credit to having him be 9. We might have to revisit that at some point. But what I was thinking is that, like, all right, so the thing of Norik that we also want to convey here. 1, he's a shady guy. 2, I think that he should have a conversation with Tahu where he references the very important fact that Tahu does not have elemental powers.
Yep.
That's a very important thing.
That's a real important one that we didn't write down here. Okay.
Right.
The audience needs to know that Tahu doesn't have elemental powers.
Kind of a big deal.
Right.
It's
kind of a big deal. But the reason why it's so important is that later on, the fact that Norik knows it, once we go into his episode, it'll go back around how he's kind of been looking for the people without elemental powers in all the other villages, and that's how he kind of knew who the Toa could be, just in case they would pop up. Like, he's the only person paying attention to all the legends and, like, piecing together all the stuff. And so that's why, like, when we have people that are kind of related, like, who is it? Norik's related to Tahu. One of the other people is going to be related to Liwa. Someone, like, in Kopaka's court is going to be, Rakshi as well. And so, like, he's purposely picked them based on what he knows and the signs he knows. And so it's not completely coincidence that, oh, you happen to be my best friend, and now you're also my enemy. I like the Spider-Man syndrome, It's like, it's very well,
Would you
Norik's
think
been
that
choosing these people.
Norik would influence Tahu, maybe, Armoto, a little bit to
I would
go
say
through
so.
with his plan?
Some.
I think so.
I would say there's a limit,
Like,
but
Norik
yes.
could be in support of it, at least.
Yeah.
I would say Norik could be in support of it, or Norik could also be like, he's like, several people have doubted your skill, despite your elemental powers, I do feel you have the thing to go through with it. You can't let these other people boss you around or something. They're like, or he'd be like, he's like, really, I think they're jealous that you've achieved so much, even though you don't have elemental powers. I'm just saying, they have powers. What are they doing? You're there, ground zero, helping people out. I think you know what's up, Tahu. I think you can actually do this.
Right. Okay. Initially, we were trying to figure out where the massive control would be, right? And we eventually came up with the Trinchrome thing and everything.
You got flung into the water or knocked into there.
Is anything in the volcano?
I think something should be. That's kind of a good...
If something is in the volcano, now is the time to kind of hint towards that. And
well,
I feel
where's the Rakshi base? Did we decide that?
It is in Norik's home. He has like a tower, I think. That's where they go to meet. I think it was established that Norik is one of the richer of the people in Mungai.
Okay. So tower, no. Makuta's just buried somewhere underground, random. No fanfare.
At the moment, yeah, his location is unknown.
Okay. Huh.
What if Makuta's in the volcano?
Yeah, like I wanted to avoid that because it's kind of played out, but I feel it's also cool for set
It's also
pieces and whatnot. I don't really want to waste that because
it's a good reference to his lair was originally. Yeah,
what else would be in the volcano? Kimu, the Mask of Creations, like neither of those.
No, that's that was the thing actually. Wasn't that the thing that like part of the deal is that okay, this could actually all work out. We probably had a solution for this a while ago, but this is what I just thought of. part of the thing that like the reason they need the Mask of Time is to recede the volcano.
Wouldn't that be interesting?
Interesting.
I mean,
Okay.
that could work.
So the volcano formed around Makuta then.
Yeah, I could actually I think there's a good argument that at the very beginning when the Toa were first made, there were different elements, but they didn't have regions yet. And when they did the giant elemental attack that sealed Makuta away, it created both the volcano and everything, and it split, kind of like what happened in G2, where it split all the elemental regions, you know, and like all the regions kind of became around this elemental thing, and it kind of all kind of funnels back.
I like that idea a lot. I like the thing of Makuta just being inside of a Toa seal, and then that's not enough just in case he ever broke out of the Toa seal. He's like
But the Toa
surrounded
seal-
by lava.
Well, it's like the Toa seal. The visual representation of the Toa seal has always just been like beams of
A
light.
cocoon, right? Yeah.
Yeah, that cocoons him in. But now it's grander than that. It's literally the regions of the island all coming together to meet in the center of the island where
Right.
the volcano forms.
Right. The map. I'm thinking about the map that we have. It might not work out like that in the map, so we might have to figure out a way
New
to.
map.
Yeah, well, I
Cool
mean, the
idea.
map that we
I like
had
how it
before was
sounds.
always very work in progress anyway. I was never
Yeah.
happy with the design fully.
Same.
So.
That's cool to me.
Yeah,
Okay,
I think
yeah,
I like
I
that.
like that.
I like the idea of the Toa seal being like everything, because a volcano is fire and earth already combined, and if you like, we could also have like a storm around the volcano as well to combine air and water, or wind and water, and earth. Earth and stone and fire would already be in the thing. What are we missing? Ice.
Yeah.
And we could just
Not
have
sure how
ice
you're
somewhere in
talking
the mountain.
ice. Yeah,
The weather.
This
the
have-
weather will all play
Okay,
into it.
the storm sleets hail.
Yeah,
and, like,
exactly.
yeah, nice
It's
as
really,
well.
It's
Yeah.
just this volcanic area, but with a crazy storm.
I like
Right.
that.
Cool image.
That is a pretty cool image actually. I mean, it makes sense because like in G1, the volcano was covered in snow.
Right.
The one side that was on the Kokora or the Kowahi side was covered in snow, so it makes sense. It's fine. Okay, I like that a lot. I think that's really cool. That's a very interesting idea. All right, so the fire spitters are in. Okay, so maybe that's why Nork is in support of this whole thing, because like he knows that he theorizes that Makuta's in the volcano and he needs to like clear that area out, and he's kind of using Tahu as a way to do
Right.
that, maybe.
Right. That's good. The fire spitters kind of nest inside the volcano and stuff, and so by Tahu's actions driving him away from the volcano, even though they go somewhere else, it clears him up, and that's also great because it explains why Nork, after all this time, has not done anything about the volcano. Right? Well, why he can't undo Makuta up until right now? It's because Tahu hasn't cleared the fire spitters out.
Right.
Because
I like it.
Yeah. A big flaw in a lot of like kids shows or anything, or like villains' plans, is that they always take place during the show, obviously, but it's like, why couldn't you do this before, right? Like in the Ninjago movie, why can't Garmadon conquer the city before the ninja are born? Because he's alive when they're babies, so why doesn't he just take over Ninjago right away? Who was stopping him? You know, that kind of thing.
Wu and Coco.
Coco kind of
They could have
got back
established.
there. Like when Lloyd was 8, Coco was still his mom, and the other ninja were also about 8. So
Wu can take him. No, he can't.
Wu is the only person holding him down. Maybe.
I do like how they portrayed Garmadon as a skilled fighter. Anyway.
Yeah. Anyhow, but back to the thing. Yeah, we can portray that.
That's good. That's some good stuff.
That makes a lot of sense for the plot, so that
Yep.
works.
Okay. In which case, let's see if we can kind of fit this in a bit of a timeline here. So we
Fun.
open episode 1 off with Norik narrating his version of the legend.
Right.
So Norik narrates, logo, title sequence. Okay.
And the title sequence is overlaid over the Mask of Time explosion.
No.
'Cause that's what I thought John was saying.
No,
It later cuts back to it, and you see, oh yeah, that happened now.
Yeah. No. So what would happen is that like this is the legend that Norik is telling is kind of what they're doing as the cult is assembling inside the volcano. And then as he's like, we will revive the great spirit Makuta, and then when it pans up and everything, then you see and you see him hold the Mask of Time up or anything, and then you see like the expansion happen.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so you want the island to freeze right off the bat, but then we rewind.
Then we rerun. So it is technically kind of a flashback, but
It's the hook.
it's the
That's
hook.
good. That's fine. Okay, I like it.
I'm paying attention, guys.
Frozen in time.
I'm in the zone.
Okay, so
Way to go,
we
Meso.
have the island freeze in time, and then logo, cool, nice music, and then we are kind of flashing back to a time where the island was not frozen, and that time we are in the middle of a terrible, destructive wave of fire spitter attacks.
Yep. And we
Right.
we start off with this village burning. It's in rubble.
Village is burning. It's in rubble. Narmoto's on scene helping out civilians.
Right. Helps a kid.
All right, helps kid, inspires kid. Cool. All right. Now, do we just do a hard cut from the Narmoto taking after saving people, looking around at the destruction, and then hard cut to council meeting?
Yeah, I would say opening.
I imagine some kind of situation where a scene ends and Tahu's just kind of doing something or staring at something, or he's angry or whatever. He's pumped and ready to fight. He's super ready and motivated to go get the fire spitters, and the music builds, and then
it's
immediately
building, you
hard
hear the
cuts to
drums.
him bored at the council meeting.
That's
I
good.
like
Yeah,
that.
that's
I
what I'm
love the
thinking
jump. Well, okay, here's what I would do. I think what you're going on is perfect. I love the idea of Tahu as he's holding the kid in his arms and he's looking, and then you see you cut to the thing where you see some people, maybe not. I don't know. Bodies burning is appropriate for Lego,
Yeah,
but
maybe just houses burning.
maybe houses burning or something, and you see it focuses on the flames, and it cuts to a thing of Tahu's face, and you hear the drums, and then stop. I would say instead of hard cutting to the council meeting, though, you cut to the gates of Takoro, and they're opening up, and all the refugees are pouring in and everything, and you see them. They have nothing, and all their stuff is burnt, and it's a ton of people flooding into the gates. And then you open to a thing where Tahu's walking through the gates of the council meeting, and everyone's in chaos. There's a bunch of people in the thing. They're all yelling about all this stuff, and there's a guy who's calling order and everything. And Tahu takes his place, and then that's when the council meeting starts.
Okay, I like the kind of what word am I trying to find here? I like the going from Tahu being really angry and in this place where he's ready to fight into a scene where he is completely bored and not in a place where fighting is a thing, right? I like the juxtaposition of that. But I do understand the importance of also showing just not only the destruction but then the aftermath of said destruction in the village.
Right.
So I'm wondering if there is a way to rearrange these scenes where you still have Tahu
Have a
looking
brief
at
dialogue
something.
scene of Tahu overlooking the refugees, talking to somebody about it. That's what I'd do. And have him get mad.
Maybe it's like the
This can't go
aftermath. So
on.
we have the destruction, then we have the hard cut to Tahu walking through the aftermath where the refugees are going in and everything, and the kid's they're crying by himself, and he goes over to comfort him, and that's when someone walks over and's hey, that kid's parents are gone, they're not coming back.
Yeah,
And then
'cause
he's all
another
angry
thing-
and
Another roadblock we're gonna come to is this is still a Lego show, and we do need to have humor.
oh yeah,
Even in the pilot where things are dire,
Yeah,
there have to
definitely.
be some comedic moments and some levity.
yeah, that's
Yeah.
there's still room for that.
There's someone for that. I would. So here's my main thing. Kind of I do like the juxtaposition of Tahu being angry and put in a position where he can't be angry. The only thing I feel is that we cut too quickly. We don't get to see Takoro at all. We don't get to see the establishing shot of where he's at. They just cut
That's true.
from him in a thing to him in a boardroom essentially.
That's a good point.
The reason why I want to show the refugees funneling in is not just so you see the aftermath, but you also see Takoro. You also see Mengai.
Yeah, that's why I'm wondering
if
if we could do the
have a
scene where
separate
he's angry and the music's building, and we do the hard cut, but have
I
that
like to
take
imagine
place.
as the refugees are pouring in the Takoro after the establishing shot, Tahu's just talking to some guy, I don't know who, maybe a friend
Yeah.
of his or whatever, and they're talking, and he's like, this can't go on, all these people displaced, those people with their lives destroyed, mark my words, I'm gonna go out there and destroy all the fire spitters in the world.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
then
save the
hard
island,
cut.
Right,
and then
right.
cut to board.
Okay, that's a good way of doing it.
Yeah, that's what we're trying to get at. Okay.
Because yes, it is important to show the city. It's very
Tahu is Eren Yeager confirmed.
I don't even understand that.
I don't get that reference, but I think it's from Attack on Titan.
You haven't seen Attack on Titan?
Dude, I have not. You want to see Attack on Titan? Let's do it.
I've seen the first episode.
I saw the
twice.
first one too. Yeah. Dude,
You guys
same
haven't
thing.
seen Attack on
I've
What?
seen the first episode
No.
twice trying to get into it, and I'm
It
like,
never
this is a
hooked
good
me.
show.
What?
And then I couldn't get into it, man.
That's insane! Wow! Holy
Yeah,
crap!
it's like everybody was
I guess
bouncing
I
off
just
the
took for
walls.
granted that everybody has seen that show.
Everybody was hyped for season 2, and I was like, cool, I'll see season 1 one day.
Dude, we got to
Awesome.
get back in our sync watching thing. We're out of our groove, man.
I still haven't seen half of One Punch Man.
Dude, oh, you got to see
Go
One
on.
Punch Man. It's so good.
Go on, my
Alright, anyhow.
Bonkel.
That's
Bonkel should
crazy.
have an anime opening. Someone in the chat.
My
said that.
mind has been blown. I was totally under the assumption that everybody had seen that show. All right, well,
I think it's only you and Purple and Envy, I think.
crap. Okay, well, no one got to get my references then. Okay. Anyway, awesome. So yeah, cutting to hard cut to council. Where everybody in the council is discussing what to do about the situation. Tommy was very clearly bored. How do we want to handle this? Because this is going to be a very important scene that's going to establish a lot. I don't know if we can really talk about this. I think it's gonna have to be a thing where we actually sit down and write it. But
Write it, yeah.
People have to be angry. There have to be opposing sides with good points because the passion of the speeches and the conversation will offset because Tahu's bored. We don't want the audience to be bored.
yeah.
You know, Tahu's bored because that's his personality, but the actual conversation is interesting and gripping and you're learning stuff and people are going at it. But we also have to have reasons for them to be going at it instead of just drama. You know, there have to be like two separate sides to this.
And we want to keep it simple
Discourse.
too. We want it to be easily understood, and we don't want to dwell on it too much. We don't want like a prequel Star Wars situation where it's
Yes.
just
Right. It'll be very
Diplomacy.
quick.
Yes.
Right. No, I do think that like this should just be the point where it's established that some of the people, like Jala especially, will be the person asking for not to do it, but ultimately the entire council decides they're not going to go through with it, right?
Yeah.
Except for Norik. So
Right.
Norik and
versus
Narmoto
inaction.
are going to be the only two people voting. There's 5 districts, so they have to be the 2, and the other 3 are united against them. There should be a thing where like you can't cut to where like Jala's like, we can't do this, you know, we have all these things to think about, we have our own people, you know, the ramifications, yada yada, and like the back and forth, and the Norik could say like one small bit that's like in favor, but he's kind of trying to hide it, and then Narmoto at the end is like, you guys don't know, you're sitting out here, you know, in your own ivory towers looking over everybody. It's like, you can't, unless you're down there, you don't know how it's affecting people.
I like that.
And then the guys are like, I'm sorry, it's a 3-2 vote. You are outvoted. We will not be doing this at this time. And then Tahu gets up angry and he leaves. And then Norik confronts him. And then Norik's like, you know, well, great leaders, they have to do the right thing, even when everyone else is against them, you know? You know Tahu.
All right, yeah,
or you know Narmoto. And Narmoto's like, okay, and then he rallies up a secret force. No,
I
wait,
like
no.
it. The secret
before
ninja
that,
force. No.
before that, he should go and see the kid off at the guard. He's dropping the kid. He's checking up on the kid to see how he's doing.
yeah, I like that.
And then he goes and he assembles the
That is very cool.
Mangayan guard.
That's good. Okay. It's almost like a subversion of the whole like vigilante thing. It's like, oh yeah, when the law isn't on your side, you got to take the law into your own hands.
You got to take the law into your own hands.
Oh, that didn't work. maybe we should keep the law. There's a reason.
Superhero
You think there's a
culture has no
system
place
for
in the
it?
real
checks and
world.
balances.
Yeah. You think I can't just go out and start doing things just because I want to?
I like it. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So then Tahu goes out. He's rallying up his troops, and then they march into the volcano. And there's an awesome, big, epic fight sequence between them and fire spitters. Fire spitters are drawn out. Can we have some kind of like Tahu has like an uneasy feeling in there or something, or like he just has to stop and like stare at like a dark corridor or something? Just kind of hint that there's more there.
Yeah.
We should.
Yeah.
Okay.
Plant those seeds.
Like, oh, there could be like, he could like almost like in the background, you could hear like a whisper of something of like,
Yeah, that's good. That's
Because
good.
like something's calling out to him almost, but then he like ignores it.
All right. That's good. That's good. Okay. So then it's he kind of snaps out of it. I guess he could be like I don't know, like one of his allies can be like, hey, come, what's going on, dude? We're losing this fight or we're winning this fight or something, and he just goes back into it.
Right.
And then we obviously end the fight with a victory, and they return home.
Right.
And where do we want to go from there? Because at this point, we need to establish that the fire spitters have left Takoro, have now gone into Ihu, and we need Tahu to be denounced by the end of the episode.
This will be the tricky part, because we gotta show Ihu for the first time, kind of like how he showed the fire village for the first time in Ruins. We have to show Ihu getting attacked. We gotta figure out a way to introduce that and make you care.
You know what will be the perfect third episode? The Ihu episode with Kopaka.
That would be good.
That'll fit like perfectly.
Third episode?
Yeah, for the third episode.
Thought the third episode was the Tele meeting.
Well, yeah, it would be. But
It'd be
remember,
the
we have
flashback.
flashbacks.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
So like
every episode's a flashback. Get hype.
pretty much. I mean, it ties into the current narrative. It works perfectly because it flows, because we have the story with Tahu, and we have the two-part ending with Tahu meeting up with the rest of the Toa, right? We then continue that arc in the third episode with the Toa meeting and interacting through the perspective of Kopaka.
I get that, but I just don't think it'll work because we've prior said like the third episode has to establish the plot. The elemental gods have to tell the Toa what to do. They have to be transformed. They have to figure out what they're gonna do.
No.
No. Then we have the Rakshi doing their thing. They have to figure out what they need to do. And then we also have another flashback intermixed. I don't think that can be done in 22 minutes.
No. I think you're mistaken on one thing. The elemental gods tell the individual Toa what to do, like whenever they're transformed, right? And that's going to happen in
that's
Tahu's
happens in
Audience
episode
has to see
2.
one of that.
Yeah,
No, we don't,
I know.
we don't
That
need
was
to
what we talked
see.
about prior.
We don't
We
need
don't need to see
every-
them talk
Yeah.
with every Toa.
I'm not saying we do, but we did agree in episode 3 that would be in
Yeah, that we're changing
episode
it.
3.
Yeah, we didn't write episode 3 at the time we said that.
No, you're right. It's just
Yeah.
I'm not crazy. I remember us talking about it, but
Yeah,
sure, we
I
can
know.
change it. Sure.
I know. But I think what Var says makes sense. We can show that. What
So
I
we
would
push-
like. What?
Wait, episode 4 would still be Liwa flashback
Yes.
when they encounter the Rakshi for the first time. Okay, cool.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that works perfectly.
Yeah. No, we get
Alright.
some flashbacks on most of the Toa.
And then we also get the backstory of the backstory of the Rakshi too through Leo's perspective, because then we get the narrative with Iruni.
Right. And then we'll expound even more on that with Norik's episode.
Exactly. And we can even follow up the Liwa Iruni episode with Norik's episode.
No, I think we should save that. We did one thing
Okay.
we did talk about was trying to space out the flashback episodes and the real time episodes. To
Right.
be fair. So,
I mean, it depends on, like, because if we're going Transformers animated style, right, where it's entirely flashback, then sure. But I don't know if we necessarily need to do entire
If it's cutting-
flashback episodes.
right, if we're cutting
it's-
back and
it's
forth, I think it
cutting
works,
back and
yeah.
forth, and it's not like complete full, because we don't really need to have an entire episode dedicated to Kopaka's like flashbacks. I see Liwa's flashback taking up an entire episode. I don't think Kopaka's is necessary to take up an entire one.
same. And actually, are we not? You want to save that reveal that he's the prince, right?
Exactly.
That's what you initially pitched it
Yeah.
as.
So
Right.
it's not like we're going to be going all the way in. Essentially, we're just using that to show that Kopaka is not happy with Tahu or his presence, essentially, and that we can use that to kind of show some destruction in Ihu and kind of set that up.
I think it would be
Alright.
be nice for so the fire spitter battle is technically, it would come at the end of the first 22 minutes, what we would call episode 1. It's a two-parter, but that's the climax of that. When Tahu returns to Mangaya, he is greeted by a bunch, instead of being victorious, he's greeted by a kind of a court summons, essentially, where he's put on trial because they have gotten word that
That's great. Yeah.
things have
I like
died.
that.
Right. And so I would say one thing that could also happen after Tahu is exiled, he goes over to he goes over and he walks towards Ihu, and he goes by another like ice village, and it's burning the same way that the Mangayan village is burning at the beginning of the episode, and he's like, oh no, I actually did mess up. Like, he's really mad at the beginning where he's like, you can't do this to me, I saved everyone, and then like, and he only starts to realize that he's bad when he sees that, oh no, I did cause this for another village.
That's awesome. I like that a lot.
Emotional impact. It's great.
That's perfect. Okay. All right. So that's a good wrap up of episode 1. Now, episode 2 is another story, but we are at the 55-minute mark. So, we'll probably have to touch upon that next week. I think there is enough here though that we can start actually writing episode 1 though.
I think so too. I'd like to see some stuff, some concept art
might
too.
Try to make my own little pitch here, my own little script, and introduce that to you guys. We'll work from there. So,
all right.
Thank you guys for joining us for another exciting episode of Brainstorm. I hope you guys enjoyed this. I feel like we got a lot of progress done here. So this will be really exciting for next week when we actually have some more stuff to present and talk about. So, if you guys enjoyed this episode and you want to listen to it live, be sure to check out our Patreon at patreon.com/the TTV channel, where you can set your own price, donate to us directly, help support our channel, and help us make more videos like this one. And you also get the nice benefit of joining our live studio audience
I like
on
that.
Discord.
Instead of $1, set your own price. That's cool.
Yeah, I feel like we don't focus on that enough.
Nope.
Anyway, but yeah, you get to join the live studio audience and listen to our podcast recording sessions live. We now have a set recording schedule that's posted, so you guys know exactly when we're going to be recording, assuming that we're not late, like today.
Well, there's no reliable bar.
But yeah, it's a really nice thing. You should totally check that out. Once again, this is Brainstorm. I am Var.
I am Meso.
And I'm Jonathan.
And we will see you guys next time. Bye.
Farewell.
Goodbye.